So you've seen the cheap plasma tables out there $200 hobby units that look great in a YouTube unboxing but leave you swearing by day 2. The Eastwood VersaCut 22 CNC plasma table isn't one of those. It's the kind of tool that shows up on a pallet, not in a thin cardboard box, and the moment it's on your shop floor you realize this isn't a toy, it's a production station. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Most people start with a handheld plasma cutter and quickly hit the wall where straight lines, repeatable shapes, and square edges become impossible without a jig or a second set of hands. That's the exact pain point this table solves. Instead of fighting the torch, you load a DXF, hit start, and walk away while it cuts clean 45-degree bevels, circles, or even nested parts. The 22 cutting area is genuinely useful for brackets, art panels, or small chassis work big enough to matter, small enough to fit in a one-car garage without blocking the car. If you're cutting mostly 11 parts or smaller, you'll rarely feel cramped. The standout feature isn't the size, it's the integrated waterbed. 10 gallons of water under the sheet metal does two things right away. It quenches sparks instantly so you're not chasing embers across the shop, and it deadens noise so the plasma torch doesn't sound like a jet engine in your living space. That waterbed also keeps the sheet from warping under heat, which means your first cut is often your last cut. No rework, no wasted material. If you've ever cut inch steel on a cheap table and watched the sheet bow like a potato chip, you'll appreciate how much easier this makes accurate work. Setup is where most buyers stumble. Eastwood ships it with the gantry pre-assembled, so you're not wrestling with a pile of aluminum extrusions at midnight. You bolt on the legs, plug in the controller, and the touchscreen LCD walks you through homing and calibration. The USB port is more useful than you'd think. You can drop files straight from Fusion 360 or SheetCam without a dedicated PC in the shop. That said, if your workflow relies on proprietary CAM software that only runs on Windows 7, you'll need a converter or a sacrificial laptop because the controller isn't running Windows. It's a minor hiccup, but it trips up enough buyers that I feel obligated to mention it. Daily usability is where the VersaCut earns its keep. The torch height control is automatic, so once you set the initial pierce height, the Z-axis keeps the torch exactly where it needs to be even if the sheet isn't perfectly flat. That alone saves hours of tweaking compared to manual torch lifters. The controller also remembers your last 5 jobs, so if you're cutting the same bracket every week, you're 3 taps away from repeatability. I've used it to cut 50 identical 24-inch angle brackets in one run, and the first piece matched the 10th piece, something you can't say about a handheld plasma cutter no matter how steady your hand is. Now, the trade-offs. The waterbed is fantastic until it isn't. Every few weeks you'll need to drain and refill it because the water gets contaminated with slag fines and starts leaving residue on the cut edges. It's not a daily chore, but it's a weekly one if you're cutting daily. Eastwood includes a small pump and filter, but the filter clogs fast with fine steel dust, so you end up buying finer mesh bags or upgrading to a pool skimmer sock. Factor in the cost of distilled water and the occasional filter replacement. It's about $20 a month if you're cutting regularly. If you're only using it once a month, the waterbed is still worth it. If you're trying to run a side hustle, budget for consumables. Another hidden cost is the torch itself. The table ships with a basic torch that's fine for 20 gauge up to inch steel, but if you're cutting inch plate you'll want a higher amperage torch and a more robust consumable set. Eastwood sells an upgrade kit, but it's an extra $150 you might not see coming. If you already own a good plasma cutter like a Hypertherm PowerMax 45, you can bolt it right on, but if you're buying the table and torch together, plan on upgrading the torch within the first 6 months if you're pushing the limits of the machine. Who should buy this? If you're a DIY builder, a hobby machinist, or a small fabricator who needs accurate cuts without a plasma table the size of a ping-pong table, this is the sweet spot. It's also ideal if you're tired of chasing sparks and noise complaints from your neighbors. The integrated waterbed and automatic torch height alone justify the price compared to a bare-bones table where you're adding those features yourself. Who should skip it? If you're cutting mostly aluminum or stainless, the waterbed can.